Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
Wow. The Sixers lose their third straight game. They blew a 21-point lead to the Nuggets, and they were outscored 35-13 in the fourth. Unacceptable. We know Ben Simmons wasn't on the floor, but that doesn't mean anything. You can't blow that lead. There are so many people to blame for the outcome of this game. Before we dive into it, though, do not forget to use the promo code BROADS for $20 off of your SeatGeek's total purchase when you are buying tickets. So use the promo code, get yourself to a game, save some money. Seems like a good time to me. What's not a good time? Watching Jokic hit a circus shot to win the game over the Sixers. Now, in that last possession, the Sixers defense was literally smothering the Nuggets. It popped out to Jokic, and it was just a mess from there, and it was a circus shot that ended up going in as Jokic dropped, 16 points in the fourth quarter alone after having a pretty bad performance through the first three quarters. He looks so fat, he looks out of shape, but guess what? He hits the dagger when needed. The blame game. The blame game starts with Brett Brown, of course. He is the head coach. When you blow a 21-point lead and when you blow a fourth quarter, you look at the head coach, absolutely. But Joel Embiid, too. Joel Embiid was horrendous. He was so bad. Pathetic, really, in my opinion. I roasted Ben Simmons for the horrible game he had when Joel Embiid was not on the floor against Phoenix, and I looked at Ben Simmons and said, you need to step the hell up and be a leader in that game. Without Joel Embiid, there's a moment for you to lead this basketball team to a victory, and he failed. Well, now we look at Joel Embiid, and he had the same situation. No Ben Simmons on the floor. This was a game going up against another great big man in this league to dominate and to show that you will lead this team to a win. 8 turnovers. He was so garbage in this game. Now, I thought the refs hurt him late because he had a steal that we challenged, and apparently they didn't see what everyone else saw, which was all ball. He made this unbelievable shot on the side of the basket, and then the Denver Nuggets challenged, and somehow they changed it to on the floor instead of a basket. And then late with the offensive foul, which Jokic just fell completely to sell it. He sold it. That's his job, okay. But if you're an NBA referee, I'm sorry, you cannot call that at the end of the game. These are two big men that are battling for position. Joel Embiid wins the battle. We had a bucket there to win the game, and you blow the whistle then? That's soft. I mean, come on. We're talking about the last possession of the game, but that's not why we lost. I'm not blaming the referees on why we lost. I think they didn't help at the end of the game. There were some horrendous calls, but overall, the Sixers put themselves in the position. Give credit to Denver for fighting back, for battling back. Barton hit some big shots. Jamal Murray was a key piece as he dropped 22 points, and Jokic came alive in the fourth. Don't get me wrong. The Denver Nuggets made shots and did not fight and continued to battle and made it happen. But I look at this from a Sixers perspective, and I say, how is this possible? Joel Embiid needs to be better. Now, I also think that there were times where the Sixers were trying to force feed Embiid. They were clearly, at one point, really putting a ton of pressure on Embiid, putting two guys on him. Jamal Murray and Jokic at one point were on Joel Embiid at the top of the free throw line, at the top of the key there, and you still have Neto trying to force it in between those two. Like at that point, and this was late in the game, why don't we try and have Tobias Harris be the guy? If Embiid is being bothered by two people, I know he's our best player, but Tobias Harris can also be that player as well if you put the ball in his hands late. If they're going to put two guys on Embiid and force someone else to beat you, okay, well, we have other guys that can beat you. Especially with seeing how Embiid played all night long. But I'm really disappointed in him. I'm disappointed in Al Horford. He had fantastic games when Embiid was not on the floor. He has struggled with Embiid on the floor. He was 3 of 12 from the field, and he airballed in the last real possession of the Sixers. He airballed a 3, which essentially led to the Nuggets getting the game winner. There were a couple threes in his defense that rattled in and around and popped out, which is super unlucky. But still, it was a bad game by Al Horford, and it might go unnoticed because of how bad Joel Embiid was. Josh Richardson, 7 points. Mike Scott in 19 minutes, 1 of 5 from the field. Tobias Harris needs to be more aggressive, absolutely, and it's on display now that he is not capable of getting going when Joel Embiid is on the floor, and that needs to be adjusted. A couple guys I thought did play decent. Neto, for the most part, played very well. I know I mentioned that force feed to Joel Embiid at that one point, but overall, Neto has been solid. Trey Burke got his first run with the Sixers, and he had some nice pace to his game and scored a couple buckets. I still lean Neto over Trey Burke, but both of those guards played well in those opportunities they had. Kyle O'Quinn, see, this one doesn't make sense to me. In the first half, the Sixers bench dominated, and they had something around 32 points, totally abused the other team's bench. Kyle O'Quinn was huge in those moments. In 8 minutes, he had 11 points. He was leading the Sixers in points at the half. You didn't see him again after that. Now, why is that? Come on. That doesn't make any sense to me. How do you not see him? Now, Matisse Thybulle didn't get any minutes. Brett Brown, after the game, when he got interviewed, mentioned he was going to put Matisse Thybulle in the second half, but because the two guards were playing so well, he continued to go with them. That's fair. I don't think we were a Matisse Thybulle away. See, this is the thing. Matisse Thybulle was great at defense, and we all know that, but we are having problems with spacing on the floor. Matisse Thybulle is so raw offensively, and it is so tough to watch at times. He forces everything, and he speeds things up too much. I think it really did cost him minutes because of how raw he is offensively. I think it's costing him minutes right now. He totally has the capability to get minutes just based off of his defense. I understand that. But I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world that Matisse Thybulle didn't get any minutes because Trey Burke and Neto had decent showings. Matisse Thybulle wasn't the reason why we didn't win this basketball game or not. You look at the top players on the team. Joel Embiid, Al Horford, Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson. Those players did not perform. And they crumbled. They crumbled late, big time. There were a couple key moments that I thought were awesome in this basketball game that won't mean a lick anymore. For example, Paul Millsap trying to drive the lane on Joel Embiid to throw down a monster jam, and Joel Embiid with a big block, which ended up leading to a Furkan Korkmaz step-in nice jumper for 2. And we will get into Furkan Korkmaz. But another big block was Josh Richardson. With 3 minutes left in the game, the score was 92-86, and he had a really great block to keep the game in the Sixers' favor. Sadly, they don't mean anything at this point because the Sixers blew it. This is a tough loss, and it's very unacceptable. A brutal road trip for the Sixers as they lose 3 straight now. Only 32 points in the paint. Not good enough. 8 of 17 from the free throw line. That is 47%. You can't be that pathetic at the free throw line. You have to knock down the free points. You're not going to shoot 100%. We all know that. You can't shoot 47%. 8 of 17. That's abysmal. Really. Truthfully, that is abysmal. 17 total turnovers, but, that's just not going to change. That's something we know is going to happen with the style of play that we play with. We always turn the ball over a ton of times. The Sixers did shoot 50% from 3, though, which is nice, I guess. If you're going to maybe try and take something away. Yeah, we shot the ball from 3. Decent. But that goes to Furkan Korkmaz. And he had 25 minutes a run, knocked down 3 threes. Defensively, though, he struggles. He definitely struggles. And just based off of his structure and the way he's built and his body, he's going to struggle on defense. That's just how it's going to work. We saw him take a couple charges earlier in the season, but all around, he's not going to turn into this elite defender. What he needs to do is just shoot threes. If he can find a way to score points and spread the court for the Sixers, then he will find minutes. He went from shooting below the three-point average in the NBA to now shooting over 40%. So if he's shooting over 40%, he's going to find himself, and he's feeling more confident. Absolutely, you can see it. His stroke is quicker and cleaner, which you can see. So if he continues to knock down shots, absolutely. He's starting to get 20 minutes of run. I mean, that's really our only option as a three-point player, three-point shooter. You need to find ways with this team to stretch everything out. So if that's the only option right now, that's the only option. And he is making the most, though, of his opportunities, though. He's making shots, so that's all you can ask for out of Furkan Korkmaz. But enough on him. Because the story is, the Sixers totally let one slip. They let one slide. The execution late was really bad. Sloppy turnovers. And it all started with force-feeding Joel Embiid. I just thought at times, if it's not there, and I know he's your best player and you live and die with that, but if it's not there, we need to look in a different direction. I'm not going to cry if Tobias Harris is your option to win a game late over Joel Embiid. If the look is there, the look is there. Like I saw a couple people complaining that Al Horford got the wide open look for three late to try and drill the shot. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to cry about Al Horford having a wide open look. Like if the play is drawn up and Al Horford gets a wide open look from the three-point land like he did, I'm not going to cry about the play. I'll live and die with Al Horford trying to win the game there. Like that, it's not ridiculous. It's not like for three they drew up Hunter Brody, myself, at the top of the three-point line to try and win when I shoot 3% from three. Al Horford's a professional, a veteran who's been dynamite for us not the last two games because he didn't have a good game the game previous to this one, but before that he had two really successful games where he was knocking down everything from three. And like I said, it wasn't like his threes in this game were ugly and horrendous. They were rolling around and coming out. Like I don't understand how you can be disappointed with Embiid backing down low late in the game and hitting a wide open Al Horford for three. That's fine with me. Just, you got to execute at that point. But down the stretch as a whole, it was clear that they were smothering Embiid, making it uncomfortable for him, and Embiid was trying to do too much all game long. He had to simplify the game. He looked like he wasn't even engaged early on, him and Jokic, to be fair. I can't believe Jokic ended up having that fourth quarter that he did. He looked toast at one point. He looked so out of shape. He was missing threes. I think he actually missed his first 6 3-pointers. He was chucking up everything. A lot of his shots were coming up short as well, so he wasn't getting his full jump shot down. His legs were not underneath of him, and he looked fatigued. He definitely looks out of shape, though. I'm not going to lie. Looks like he beefed up a little bit and a little bit too much, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, guess what he did? He made the shot. The Sixers go home. They go home to play Sunday night against Charlotte. 5-3 to start the season. We'll learn more about Ben Simmons as well as days go by here, and it is a grade 1 sprained AC joint, so it could be a lot worse. We'll see. I saw one report from a Yahoo reporter saying 3 games most likely is what he'll miss, but I also saw some reports that he's going to be reevaluated again on Sunday. So I saw 2 different reports. If it is around 3 games, okay, it is what it is. It could be a lot worse than that. And realistically, I thought it was going to be a lot worse than that when I saw his initial reaction to holding his shoulder. Josh Richardson was also holding his shoulder after he made the block in the fourth quarter, and that concerned me, but he was still out there and still competing. Hopefully we don't learn anything that, he was playing through this and this will keep him out. I hope we don't learn anything like that as the hours pass. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. You had a sense that it was going to happen. You had this feel as the Nuggets were slowly creeping back in that fourth quarter. One thing that one of my buddies mentioned, and I do agree with him, so shout out Dean if you're listening. To start the fourth quarter, Brett Brown likes to keep some of the bench guys in. While the Nuggets had some of their playmakers making legit plays, we still have some of our bench guys in the rotation. And early in the fourth, they started to do some damage and they started to creep in. 10-0 run. I mean, we got to stop that, right? We were out big at that point. We can't just allow them to go on a 10-0 clip like that. Maybe you start with your starters. Start the fourth with your starters. Put together a 25-point lead. And then you can throw in some rotation guys maybe. I don't know. That could be me just nitpicking a little bit. Because then what happens? Then, here's the other side of that. You do that. And then when your bench guys come in. And you're up 25. The Nuggets still go back and win, right? Because you can write that off. That can sure happen as well. And then you'd complain that Brett Brown took his starters out. Why would Brett Brown take his starters out? To put in his bench. I mean, there's a counter argument to it as well. You'd rather have your starters down the stretch. I don't know. This is just me nitpicking because I'm disappointed in the outcome. Brett Brown, Joel Embiid, they're at the top of my list. Al Horford, also at the top of my list. Tobias needs to find rhythm with Embiid on the floor. He just has to. He needs to find a way to be aggressive. This is what bothers me, though, because Tobias Harris is getting destroyed. We paid you $180 million to do this. It's this simple. I mean, it's just this simple. And you should know this by now if you know the NBA, and if you know talent. Tobias Harris is what he is. We paid him $180 million, which is overpaying him, but we paid him so he will stay here because you could not lose Jimmy Butler and Tobias. Jimmy Butler didn't work. He didn't want to be here. It seemed like we didn't want him either. So you overpaid Tobias Harris to keep him here. He's a good player in this league. He's not a superstar. He's a good player in this league. He'll have nights that will be very beneficial to this team and help the team win. He'll have some sloppy nights. He'll have mediocre nights. You overpaid him to keep him here. So every time he has a game that isn't insane and when he's not dropping 35 points, there's no reason to hop on Sixers Twitter and say, Tobias, we didn't pay you to do this. You know why you paid him. You paid him as an organization because you couldn't lose both players. It doesn't mean it's a bad signing. With the roster we have constructed now, it's totally acceptable. It's fine. It made sense. But just know, money does not equal his talent. But you had to do it, and it made sense to do it. So I'm sick and tired of the narrative. Like you're complaining for no reason. Like if you understand it logically, okay, it is what it is. You don't need to bring it up every time Tobias doesn't have the most successful night. Because you'll drive yourself nuts and you'll do it way too many times. With that being said, though, he needs to be better than what he was in this ballgame in Denver. You just saw the team fall apart and get fatigued. They were tired. Josh Richardson, 7 points. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't really know what to expect out of him. He's got length. He's a good defender. He has moments, but this could be a case of overhyping a player. And maybe it's just a player that struggles to work with this much talent around him. It's hard to juggle that. It's hard to juggle so many players being so talented and having to get certain players looks and get guys in rhythm. It's tough to do. That's what we're trying to figure out right now. But you can't blow a 21-point lead. You can't blow a fourth quarter lead of 19 points. It's just unacceptable. Can't happen. I don't care if Ben Simmons isn't on the floor. But you do see what Ben Simmons brings to the table when he's not out there. You see how great he is. It's almost as if you don't appreciate things until it's gone. It's crazy how life works like that, isn't it? Well, they have a chance to bounce back on Sunday night. No Eagles. I think you even have a little Sixers-Flyers action on Sunday night. No Eagles, a little bang-bang, both squads in action. Let's see if the Sixers can find a way to get on the win column, because 3 straight is bad. It was a bad road trip. It could have been 0-4 if Furkan Korkmaz didn't save the day. Unbelievable. All right, there you have it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.